Welcome in TNCRadio.live. We are live on April the 19th, 2023. It's a Wednesday night, and you're listening to Clutch Time Sports. And now here are your hosts, Anderson and Banker.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Tom Kelly. How you doing? I'm Ivan Anderson with my main man, Josh Banker. For all you wonderful truckers out there on the highways, byways, and the freeways, good evening to you. We're dealing with some beautiful weather here in Southern California. JB, did you have a nice weekend, man?
I did. It was about as quiet a weekend as I've had in a while, and it was great.
Really?
I enjoyed every minute of it.
It was kind of calm from your 5 services over Easter?
Yeah, that's for sure. Although I was a little disappointed. I was supposed to have a massage on Sunday afternoon, and my therapist got sick and had to cancel. So I'm a little more sore today than I normally am. But I'm doing all right for my old age.
Okay, you sound like the guy on is that Homer Simpson's dad? You just sounded like
Grandpa. I got all kinds of voices for you.
Oh, man. As you know, we always kind of start off joking around, just kind of liven things up, because when it comes to sports, we want you guys to have fun. We want to have fun. But unfortunately, Bank, I have to get something off my chest, and I have to say this, and I'm going to give you, let me preface this by saying I am a girl dad. When I say that, and anybody out there that says that, it means I am a father that has a girl athlete. And my feathers have been rough. Just they're just up on edge. My hairs are up on edge. This situation with Lia Thomas has got to end, and we've got to stop challenging girls' sports. Girls' sports are girls' sports. It's hard enough that they're looking for girls to play different sports. A lot of scholarships for girls go unclaimed, whether it's golf, whether it's, softball, they never get enough scholarships. Basketball, I would blame the coaches because they have scholarships and they don't use all of their scholarships. The point is, the purpose of Title IX was to equal things out. And I'm sorry, if you couldn't come in under, ranked of less than 50, to change your name, turn to girls sports, and be at the top of the food chain, well, of course you are. It's biology. Your anatomy is completely different. You're designed to be stronger. You're designed to be faster. You're designed to be taller. So just because you decide that you want to be a girl, that's fine. That's your business. I have no problem with that. But you have no business in girls sports. And I will support Riley Gaines. I will support Sage Steele from ESPN, who is talking about this. Samantha Steele Ponder, who's on Sunday NFL Countdown, who is supporting this. I am one of those people that is completely against transgender people being in female sports. JB, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to accept it. And no matter what you say or anyone else out there says, and I know you're not for it, JB, but no matter what anybody says out there, you're not going to convince me.
And it's just sad because we fought so hard for Title IX. Now, obviously, this was before you and I were born, but it was one of those things where the equality for getting the amount of women's sports into athletic programs, college, high school, whatever the case may be, to be able to field the same sort of teams that the men's had, for females, there was just so much hard work for it. And now, you're right, Ivan. It just is one of those issues where it's a slap in the face for all of those people who work so hard to get that equality into those programs, to where you're just wondering where are we going to go next? Because, the unfortunate part is you and I actually went to school at a time where there was a female that was playing on the men's baseball team on one of our rival colleges. She was a pitcher. And she did fantastic. She was in there trying to get, on equal footing with the men playing their sport, because at that time there wasn't a softball program that she could go to. And frankly, she wanted to play baseball anyway, two totally different sports. So that was her opportunity, where now it's, I kind of would find it interesting to, if anybody could have a sit down with Leah Thomas and just say, ask the question, do you feel upset for the girls that are not getting the opportunities that you are, or, not getting the opportunities to be up on a podium because of what you're doing?
Right. Well, when you mentioned, and I forgot her name, I know exactly who you're talking about. She didn't challenge. She didn't have the ability to challenge the status quo. I mean, she could rise up to NAIA at that time because that's what we were, NAIA. We've only been a Division II school for a very short time. And the other young lady that you mentioned, who's playing college baseball, and I thought that was a great story when you did Trey Rings last week. But the bottom line is, for a girl to play male sports, it's a lot of work. Correct me if I'm wrong on the name. I believe it was it Annika Sorensen that played the PGA tour? The
LPGA.
But she played in the PGA tournament. I can't remember which tournament it was. You had a lot of golfers that were upset about it, and they said they weren't going to play, they weren't going to show up. And I remember we kind of talked about it at that time. I don't remember anything we said about it, but one of the things was, okay, if she's going to play men's sports or men's golf, she needs to tee off from the pro tees.
Yeah, from the men's tees.
From the men's tees. So you need to tee off from there, not from the blue or the white tees. And she wound up teeing off from the females' LPGA tees, and I believe she didn't even finish in the top 30. And it didn't bother us because, to me, she didn't challenge anything. But if you take a male and you put a man in a female sport, I think Dave Chappelle said it best. If LeBron James decided to change his name tomorrow and said he wanted to join the WNBA, he would have 1 trillion points. There's nobody in the WNBA that could defend LeBron James.
Right.
It's just, it's past ridiculous.
Yeah, and I just feel bad for your daughter because when she gets further along in her athletic career, what other stumbles is she going to face with this issue and possibly anything else that comes up? Because now let's say you've got 2 or 3 men on her team, or 2 or 3 men that are playing against her. And how do you have that conversation with, it's just, I feel for you as a father, because obviously I can't relate. I have no kids of my own, but I mean, as just a human adult, on this side of it, and that loves his friends and loves his friends' kids, I mean, I can't imagine having that conversation.
But you have a niece, and I can imagine you telling your niece, hey, you're going to have to go out there and be a little bit tougher because you're competing against 3 or 4 of the guys. That's a crazy conversation.
Yeah. Or you just kind of have to phrase it like, look, honey, you're getting put in a situation that you can't control. So just go out and do what you've always done, do your best, and we'll be happy with it. That's all you can do.
That's all you can say, but it makes me so angry that we even have to have this discussion.
Oh, of course.
We're wasting time on a discussion that shouldn't even be talked about.
And I think what really irks me more than anything too is to see players like Megan Rapinoe, Sue Bird, who have fought for such good things for women's sports.
Yes.
Equality in pay and stuff like that. Now, look, I mean, there's all kinds of arguments for equality in pay too. I mean, it should be based upon the revenue that gets generated, yada, yada, yada.
Right.
There's all kinds of factors into that. But when they stand and get behind this cause, it just baffles my mind, because you just fought for so much prior to this that you're basically canceling out from supporting a cause that takes away from all your hard work.
Well, I was actually reading that tweet from Riley Gaines to Megan Rapinoe, and she said, well, yeah, it's great for you to support now that you're out of professional sports.
Right. Yeah.
You're retired. Yeah. So what's your argument if you had to compete against guys on the soccer field? And to your wife, what's her argument, Sue Bird, if you had to compete against men in the WNBA? We're never
Right.
going to hear that argument.
Right.
We're never going to hear it. So
I mean,
it's easy to be brave when you're no longer doing what you used to do.
and unfortunately, I think it's going to come to a point where, like with the Olympics or a lot of other sports, you're going to have a third category of competition. You're going to have a men's, or even a fourth. You're going to have a biological men. You're going to have a biological women, perhaps a trans men and trans women divisions.
Yeah.
In all of it.
Well, one of the things, we were talking about this off air, and one of the things like, well, what do you think they should do? And the first thing I said, well, I think they should boycott. What do you do if women decide, well, I'm no longer going to participate in any of these sports? Good luck, sponsors. Tom, it's not like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing.
I've got two things, and we're going to have to wrap this one up and keep moving. But because we could do a whole show on this, we really could.
For sure.
So two things I'll throw out there. Number one, I'm going to tie these two together. Romans 1:24-25. How about that? I'm dropping a Bible reference on you. You guys know what that one is off the top of your heads?
Not at all.
Off the top of my head.
Therefore, God gave them over in their sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity, for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. In other words, if you're going to do it, go for it. All right? Go do it. And I don't want to hear one word of complaint when you look up one day and you go, whatever happened to women's sports? Because I look up there and all I see are a bunch of girls with private
Adam
parts and Adam apples, and I don't want to hear you complain. Don't complain. Not once. None of you. If you let this go through, I don't care if you're a coach, I don't care who you are, you let this happen, it's on you. And men's sports, we're just going to be fine. Fine.
Yes.
But don't come crying back about, well, we need to change Title IX again because we ruined it under that administration. No, you did it. Live with it.
Yep. Exactly.
So I say give them over. Give them over. Go for it.
Well, now that we all have got that. Yeah, boom. Now that we've all gotten that off our chest, we're coming back to our second quarter with Mr. Kelly's Corner here on TNC Radio Live. You listen to Clutch Time Sports.
For the latest in traffic, weather, and information, catch the Morning Grind weekdays right here on tncradio.live.
Mallard Buildings always gives back to the community. At the recent Night at the Gatsby Gala, which was presented by McNeese to benefit the McNeese Athletic Foundation, Lee Malek donated over $23,000. His generosity and continued support will serve the student athletes, coaches, and support staffs well into the future. Lee Mallet is dedicated to building a better McNeese and a better Louisiana. TNCRadio.live, your commercial driver navigation station.
Welcome back into the second quarter of Clutch Time Sports. This is Kelly's Corner, where I'm going to ask the guys an opinion question or questions. We have had no communication about this ahead of time, so the discussion is fitting given what tomorrow is. So guys, tomorrow is what?
April the 20th.
420.
420.
So we've been around the corner on this several times, and a lot of people don't know what the new rules are in a lot of the sports. So first of all, let me tell you some of the rules, and then we're going to talk about your opinion on some of this. The NBA, starting in 2020, has completely quit testing for THC. The The NFL has completely quit testing for THC in the off-season and raised the in-season from 30 milligrams to 150. We can talk about that later. The NHL, players are tested once for drugs during the season, no penalty for THC. MLB dropped THC as a drug of abuse and, in the latest collective bargaining agreement, put through a rule that minor league players may not be suspended for use of THC. Sorry, John Singleton, you were 10 years too early. Major League Soccer, players tested THC is considered doping. NASCAR, drivers and crews tested often THC automatic suspension. UFC fighters train and recover with cannabis, no testing. WNBA, players tested once annually, no THC penalty. The PGA and LPGA, yes, positive THC test results in months-long suspension. And finally, the NCAA recently, like within the last 6 months, the threshold was raised from 35 to 150 milligrams THC considered illegal doping. That's a very wide range and difference between some of these sports, but yet some of it maybe makes sense. So I'm going to start off this time. I think this time it's starting off with Ivan. Ivan, you're an American? You grew up in America?
I hope so.
Yeah, you grew up in America. There's a chance that once or twice you smelled pot on somebody else. Not that you would ever do anything like that, but you might have smelled it on somebody else. I did not inhale with that woman. No, that's different. Sorry. And you've got kids who are of the age where somebody at some point has said, hey, you want a toke? Your opinion on marijuana use in athletics?
Well, here's my opinion. Historically, the reason why it was banned and made the class structure of drug in the federal government is because of the lobbying system of the cotton industry, because hemp is an indigenous plant here in the Americas. It's a great clothing material. And the THC part of it doesn't bother me. I don't like the smoking part of it, but there are many uses for THC when it's put into pill form or baked goods or things like that for legitimate issues. And there really is a real legitimate purpose for it, because my stance on it is the pharmaceutical is killing us just as much. And if this is something that can help you without hurting you at the same time, I say you should be able to use it. Recreationally, I don't think it should be used, because I still think you're putting smoke in your lungs and you're damaging something that can't be replaced. So if it's a medical objective, I have no problem with it. But if it's for recreational, I don't think it should be used.
But, okay, so one of your kids says, but Dad, it's only a brownie. Come on. It's only a gummy bear. Yeah,
well,
okay,
I don't think it should be sold like it's being sold right now. Yeah, but I don't think it should be sold like it's being sold right now. I don't think it should be regulated under the pharmaceutical industry so they can charge 1,000% on it. But it should be regulated where you're getting a prescription from a doctor to go to a pharmacist to get it. But the pharmaceutical industry is not necessarily under that authority, has that authority on it. I don't think it should be sold in gummy bears and things like that. And it just because I have the ability to grow these different types of leaves, I can hand it to you. I think it should be regulated, but I think there's a real purpose for it, because I know people that have a lot of different debilitating issues actually use it. I know people that are getting cancer treatment that actually use it to stimulate appetite, because if you go under that radiation, you lose your appetite. You have to use something that kills you. So I wouldn't want my kids to do it, but I do think that there's a real purpose for it if we use it right, not the way they're doing it for recreational.
Interesting. It was a good dance. I'm not exactly sure I got an answer, but I think I did maybe a little bit. Josh, how about for you, sir?
Well, compared to Ivan, this answer is going to blow.
Okay.
So I'm actually kind of right in line with Ivan. It's interesting that we have a system out there that is so strict about certain things. I think one of the things that we have to figure out is the continuing research that we have into the effects, both positive and negative, from the THC that you were just talking about, Ivan, because, for glaucoma, for the appetite after cancer, for, there's certain topical things that help for kids with autism and ADHD. I mean, there's certainly a lot of things for it, but just like with anything else, it can be abused.
Yes.
And so I think there is going to have to be some sort of regulation within the testing systems of all these major sports, because if I'm a NASCAR driver and I'm high, that's not only a danger to me, it's a danger to everybody else.
Yeah. Okay. So we've only got a couple minutes left. So let's hit a couple of these, because I think that's really important. Yeah. I agree. I don't think anybody in NASCAR ought to be high.
No.
Are we all okay with that? Does anybody got?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay.
Totally.
And quite frankly, I agree. It's the off season. Leave Ricky Williams alone.
Seriously.
Leave John Singleton alone. I mean, John Singleton was going to be a star. And, he's the first person to ever sign a $10 million contract, having never swung a bat in the majors. And, years later, he's gone because he spent most of his time being suspended and being kicked back to the minors because he kept getting suspended. And, really, is it worth that? The NHL, we're going to test you, and if we catch you, there's no penalty. What's that for?
There's no that gives you no physical advantage whatsoever. Well, and let's be honest, look at the epidemic we have out there right now with prescription drugs.
Yes. I mean, that's the thing, is people are abusing not only prescription drugs, but they figured out a way to abuse Sudafed. Okay, They figured out a way to abuse Aleve. They figured out a way to abuse some prescription drugs for uses they weren't made for. Did you really need to snort Adderall?
Yes.
There are a lot of people who do these different things to get an advantage, and others who do these things to calm their anxiety and those kinds of. But so far, contrary to what the NCAA said, who called it illegal doping, so far nobody has been able to prove that marijuana is in any way a performance-enhancing drug.
Yep.
No, it is a performance-enhancing drug, because I have seen people high eat 20 tacos. So it does.
Okay, well, for that, maybe so. Now, you kick back to the 80s. Darryl Strawberry and Dwight Gooden, Keith Hernandez, several of the Pirates players, and many, many others throughout baseball eventually busted on cocaine. The problem was there wasn't anything about cocaine in the player agreement. So there was a big mess on how to handle all of that. Cocaine is a performance-enhancing drug, and if you don't believe that, if you don't think that's true, you've obviously never taken cocaine.
It is a drug. It is.
Just gonna say, I read about that in a book. Okay, so these guys weren't taking cocaine because they wanted to get a little bit high before the game started. That's not why they were doing it. So, drug use in professional and in college sports, for all levels of sports, drug use and sports are going to always be an issue now and forevermore. And, you just got to kind of sometimes come back with what's the common sense, right? It's
What is it leading to?
Yeah, well, where are you going with this? I think it's interesting that the NCAA calls marijuana use illegal doping, and then in the same breath, within the last 6 months, allows 3 times more of THC to show up in your system before it's an issue. And quite frankly, unless you smoked a joint within the last week, probably you would not trip this particular alarm.
Well, if we've learned anything from our first quarter tonight, the NCAA's cray-cray anyway.
Right. All right.
True.
Well, wanted to get your guys' opinion on drugs and sports. We, again, could spend an entire program on that. Maybe one day we will. Maybe one day we will spend an entire program talking about the demise of Title IX. We'll see where that goes. Remember, that's not done yet. So we'll see where that goes, but I'm very nervous about it and always interested to see where we go with drugs and sports. So 2 hot topics, but when we come back, we'll be talking about 3 fun topics with Trey Raines. Right here on TNCRadio.live, Clutch Time Sports. Stay right there.
At Hotshot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hotshot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hotshot Secret, powered by science.
Hi, I'm Dr. Christopher Cortman, and now for the Mental Health Minute. According to some polls, 1 out of 3 human beings describe themselves as chronic worriers. That is, you could walk up to them any time of the day and say, "What are you worried about?" And they'll tell you, because if they're awake, they're worrying. Why do people worry? And what do we get from worry? That so many people worry chronically. Well, worry is pseudo-control. It helps us to feel like we're controlling something that we otherwise are powerless over. Let me tell you a true story. A young man leaves on Thanksgiving weekend to head back to his university in Pittsburgh. His mother in Florida states, "Son, I don't want you to go. The weather is terrible outside. Please don't leave." And the son smiles and says, "Mom, the plane's taking off. They're going to go with or without me." So before the son leaves, the mother says, "Honey, do me one favor at least. When you land in Pittsburgh, call me." He says, "Sure, Mom." So for the next 3.5 hours, this poor woman is pacing the house. She puts on the Weather Channel and she watches a giant H take over the screen. And she doesn't know what she's watching, and she shuts that off. And she has a drink of wine and maybe a second glass, and then she says, "What am I doing, getting drunk while my poor son is crashing to death?" She tries to lay down and sleep, but then she tells herself the same thing, that this is not a good thing for her to do if her poor son is flying in terrible weather. She prays to God and she says, "Lord, take this from me." And then 5 minutes later, she says, "Lord, give me that back." She needs to worry because it helps her feel like she has some control. Hours later, the phone rings, and she answers the phone, and she says, "Hello, hello." And her son says, "Mom, I just want you to know I made it." And she says, "Oh, I did it. I did it." Somehow in the mind of a worrier is the belief that my actions of worrying tend to bring positive outcomes. So you know what she's going to do the next time there's a flight in inclement weather? She's going to worry again. Do you want to know what the antidote is for worrying? Tune in to the next Mental Health Minute.
Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF. is boosting the image of the industry by telling the story of trucking, and your story can be part of it. Upload a photo, tell us what you love about trucking, or send us a story about a good deed or charitable act in trucking. Be sure to follow us on social media and contact us through truckingmovesamerica.com. That's truckingmovesamerica.com.
I just love that music. Or in the words of George Bush, we want all the old BGYNs to show the women love. No, I'm just being funny. But hey, guys, you know what time it is. All you wonderful people out there, men and women, boys and girls, let me introduce my partner. He is the main guy. And in the last 4 years, we done won Trey Ranks.
Ding, ding, ding.
I know, I can't wait for it too.
I think we all just need to breathe in through our nose, out through the mouth. Yeah, we get some hot and heavy topics here on Clutch Time Sports this evening. You know, we get close to 420 and everything goes up in smoke. Okay, so Trey Ranks for tonight. 3 things that make us smile, made us laugh, perhaps, in the world of sports, or there's something on here that make you go, as well. So, Ivan, as you know, we all have our own superstitions as nervous fans watching our teams play. And despite the fact that the Chicago Bulls eventually lost in their final playing game in the Eastern Conference, they can easily give their vocal MVP for their comeback win last Wednesday night against Toronto to DeMar DeRozan. I'm sure you saw the story. DR is the 9-year-old daughter of Bulls star DeMar DeRozan, and she certainly worked smarter, not harder, though the fans around her could probably argue that she was working pretty hard. The Bulls trailed by as many as 19 points, and as it started getting down to free throws, DR shrieked as any 9-year-old girl could, as loud as she could, as the Raptors were about to release their shots for a free throw. And you know, we all do funky things. We throw our fingers up in the air, you know, spear fingers are out. We, you know, cross our legs, or we have one foot up and one foot down. You know, that's superstition thing. But the Raptors, in their own building, missed 18 of 36 free throws that night, and it was the worst free throw shooting percentage in an elimination game since 1969. And what was so funny about it was Jaleel White, who, as we all know, is...
Yes. Steve Urkel.
Steve Urkel caught it all on camera and seemed to enjoy every minute of it. But what's sad, and it's kind of been the theme of our show tonight, there's just some sad things going on in our world, is that people actually took to social media during the game and threatened her to the point where she had to be escorted out of the arena at the end of the game because the Raptors organization thought there was something serious that could happen to her. So... but, I mean, DR, way to support your dad, way to scream out. I mean, that's classic. And if you go back and look at the videos, she is full throat, just at the top of her lungs. It was awesome. All right. Rank number 2, pretty cool story from the world of golf. A week after the Masters, the PGA Tour went to Hilton Head Island, South Carolina for the RBC Heritage Tournament at Harbour Town. Englishman Mr. Matt Fitzpatrick outlasted Jordan Spieth in a 3-hole playoff to win. Now, the 28-year-old had been coming to the island with his family since he was 4 years old to vacation every year because his family just fell in love with the coastal community there in South Carolina. Fitzpatrick was a huge Tiger Woods fan growing up and would attend this same event at Harbour Town, but was always disappointed because Tiger only played there once in 1999 when he was 4 years old. So fast forward 24 years now, and he says he could probably retire, jokingly, of course, after a dream come true win to get it on the course that his family spent a lot of time vacationing at when he was a kid. And you know what? $3.6 million in that first place prize might actually be tempting enough for somebody to retire, but pretty cool story. Matt Fitzpatrick getting the victory in Harbortown, South Carolina, at the RBC Heritage. So that's ring number 2. So ring number 3, Ivan, maybe you've seen this story. I'll bet Mr. Tom Kelly has. Remember when we did our AL preview, and what did I specifically call the Oakland A's?
Bad.
A dumpster fire. Yes. A dumpster
fire. We referring to the stadium or them?
Both, yes. Well, chalk one up to the legacy that is now the dumpster fire called the Oakland Coliseum. So when the Mets visited Oakland over the weekend, SNY broadcasters Gary Cohn and Ron Darling were supplanted from their visitors' broadcast booth because a possum had made itself a residence inside the walls of the booth and evidently marked its territory. So apparently this has also happened a year ago when the Twins were in town, but nobody knows just yet if the same possum that tormented them last year is the same one that could be in the walls of the Oakland Coliseum. Now,
that's nasty.
It's funny because the broadcasters for the Mets hadn't quite got in there yet, but while their crew were setting up for the broadcast, they had a certain smell wafting through the booth. And I mean, it's the Oakland Coliseum. It really could have been anything. But I will tell you, as a gentleman who lived in the Pacific Northwest for several years, we came home one summer after summer vacation. We were gone for 2 weeks. We walked in the house, and there was just this, okay, what in the world is that smell? So as we're unpacking our car and getting everything put away, we're trying to figure out what in the world is going on. And this is the middle of summer in Oregon. This is probably in August. So my dad gets on all hands and knees and goes under the house. And sure enough, there was a possum that had made its way through the dryer vent, chewed its way through. And if you've ever had any possums, Ivan, that have tormented you, you will know that those buggers do not like to be moved. They will not let you move them. And despite a sledgehammer, that guy took about 5 hits from my dad before he finally relented. And of course, you know, even with gloves and stuff on, my dad grabbed it by its tail, and the tail started wrapping its tail around my dad's hand.
Dang.
Pick it out because it's just the natural muscle movement of the possum. But I cannot be. Maybe I should volunteer my dad to help Oakland take that one out of the broadcast booth. But yeah,
will it attack you? Will they attack you?
They can. My dad got him in a corner, shined a flashlight on its face, and the possum gave him just this big hiss out of.
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, they got some nasty teeth.
Yeah, they can't see very well, but they are nasty.
But do you know how good they are for the environment? Seriously, they are.
Yes, they're really good.
They're really good.
They are correct.
They're one of only a couple of animals that can't get rabies.
I did not.
Their system.
Will they control? Go ahead.
Their system is so. I mean, they can eat anything because that's their job. Okay, they were put on this earth to do. You clean up, okay, and clean up, and it's nasty and gross. They love it all the more.
Well, and I think we exactly know why they were at the Oakland Coliseum taking in some baseball.
Because nothing is nastier than the Oakland Coliseum. Nothing's nastier than that.
They
control Lyme disease. I didn't realize that.
You go on Twitter and just even on Google or whatever and look up the story. You could see pictures of it poking its head out of the wall.
Nasty.
In the ceiling.
That is so gross.
I can't imagine.
That's just a hideous animal.
It's just adding again to the lore that is the Oakland Coliseum, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is the absolute opposite of what we've been talking about for the first 2 quarters here in Trey Reigns.
All right, we're going to finish up this segment with this.
in any particular game, if he steps the wrong way or something, just turns it and causes
official visit to Florida State. I asked him, what did you guys do? He said, well, 6 men, or did they make you the 6th man? And Patrick said, I was down for whatever Coach Hamilton wanted, and it worked out for both of them because underrated.
That's my favorite one.
Nice job.
That one.
in terms of the total number or the quality of shots, he's comfortable with 10 for sure. Yeah.
Tell me, life is really good for him right now. He's in a
Holy cow.
space coming into this.
And at one point,
That's to me a guy who the handle.
And they have every scream, and I tell you, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. Go out to YouTube, just type in DR Scream, and you will find it.
it is. I mean, that for a playoff game too, in front of a national audience. I mean, it's just awesome.
Yeah, and you're right.
So
Only a 9-year-old girl can scream quite like that.
Oh yeah,
sure.
Oh
Only
yeah,
a 9-year-old girl. Yeah, and she nailed it. It was awesome. Great
and
stuff.
what's funny is if you notice too, a lot of them are on the opposite end of the court.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're expecting as a home team to be shooting free throws in as quiet as environment as you could get. So if you get somebody like her to do what she does, it is going to be very effective, and obviously it works because they went 18 of 36.
Yep.
Nuts.
All right, guys, we got one more quarter.
Yeah.
All right.
Time to talk some playoffs.
So we're going to do that.
Playoffs.
We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. You're listening to TNCRadio.live, Clutch Time Sports with Anderson and Banker. Don't touch that dial. Do they even have dials anymore? I don't think they. I'm not even sure. Yeah,
Don't click that button.
Don't click that button. All right.
The Hot Shot Secret Facebook page gets a lot of robust Q&A about diesel problems and their solutions. We listen to our customers. Here are their words straight from their mouths about Hot Shot Secret Everyday Diesel Treatment. Our fans call it EDT.
I'm John Sharp, a.k.a. Jay Sharp from Newburgh, Pennsylvania. Using EDT, my local fuel mileage went to average of 22 to 23, and my highway MPG went to 26 to 28.
Hi, I'm Danny. I'm from Arizona. I drive an 02 Ford Excursion. I use EDT at every fill, and my mileage went from 12.5 miles to gallon to 14 miles per gallon. I highly recommend it.
Everyday Diesel Treatment delivers a 6-in-1 premium fuel treatment for every fill-up, every time.
Everyday Diesel Treatment is available at truck stops, Tractor Supply, O'Reilly's Auto Parts, and online at HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
This blog on TNCRadio.live is brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net. 6 safety tips for truck driving in hot weather. Driving in the heat can create dangerous situations for truck drivers. Drivers need to take specific precautions before hitting the road in extreme heat. With the incoming heat wave dubbed as a heat dome by the National Weather Service, drivers need to be aware of how to safely drive in these weather conditions. Follow our 6 safety tips for truck driving in hot weather. Every truck driver needs to complete a pre-trip inspection before driving, especially in hot weather. Check tires. Heat can have a huge effect on your tires. As the temperature increases, so does the air pressure in your tires. During the hottest months of the year, it's important to frequently check your tire pressure. Frequently checking on your tires can save you from a blowout. To get an accurate measurement, wait for your tires to cool down before checking the pressure. The heat and friction from the road cause your tires to warm up, which will cause a rise in tire pressure. Also, don't be afraid to take a break every couple of hours to let your tires cool down. While traveling in the summer months, you may want to give yourself some extra time to stop and check on your tires. Protect your engine. Not only should you protect yourself from the heat this summer, but you should also protect your engine. One way to keep your engine from overheating is to frequently check the engine oil. The oil keeps the engine cool and keeps the parts running smoothly. Engine coolant is just as important as engine oil. Coolant helps prevent the engine from overheating in extremely hot temperatures. Keep an eye on the coolant temperature gauge while driving. If the gauge goes above the safe temperature, pull over and see what's going on. Failing to assess the situation could lead to engine failure. Also make sure to check for leaks in the hoses. A cracked hose could lead to engine failure. Tips to protect yourself from hot weather. It's just as important to protect yourself during extremely hot weather. Follow these steps to keep yourself cool and safe during these hot months. Stock up on water. As the temperature increases, you need to increase your water intake. Make sure to always have water in your truck. You never know when you might get stuck in traffic or break down on the side of the road. Wear sunscreen. Many truck drivers forget this step. Even when you're in your truck, you're still exposed to the harmful UVA rays from the sun. Make sure to put sunscreen on before hitting the road. Wear light-colored clothes. Light-colored clothing reflects light, and dark-colored clothing absorbs it. Wearing light-colored, loose-fitting clothes helps you stay cooler and more comfortable on the road. And be sure to check out our blog, 6 Safety Tips for Truck Driving While Driving in the Rain. This blog on tncradio.live was brought to you by the Truckers Network at app.thetruckersnetwork.net.
Don't forget, you can hear all of our TNC Radio primetime shows again on our podcasts. Just go to tncradio.live/podcasts or search for tncradio.live wherever you listen to podcasts.
Oh, yes. We are just here as one big possum posse. I had to get the possum in there, JB. I just had to get the possum in there. That was such a great Trey Rings, but we've got to turn our attention to the National Basketball Association. And unfortunately, JB, Draymond Green is suspended for what is it, day after tomorrow's game?
No, it's tomorrow's game.
Okay, it's tomorrow's game.
Yeah.
So game 3 at the Chase Center. I think that Mike Brown, being an assistant coach with the Golden State Warriors, has that team dialed in, the Sacramento Kings dialed in, and they are Golden State 8 years ago.
Well, it's hard to argue because Harrison Barnes was on that team 8 years ago too.
Yep, sure was.
And it's interesting because I'm not surprised at all by the Draymond Green suspension. Am I happy about it? Of course not. I'm a Warrior fan, but I'm also a playoff basketball fan. And do I want Draymond Green suspended for that? Well, that's hard. I mean, it's hard because I do think that he probably had a little more malice to it than he's given himself credit for. But he got put in a pretty unpredictable situation there because you're getting grabbed by the ankle and the ball is live and you're going to the opposite end of the court. I'm not sure how much better he could have played it. And what's interesting to me is that we actually have the NBA admitting that his prior history gave them the right, I guess, to be able to actually suspend him. That was part of the reasoning for his suspension for tomorrow. I guess I get it, but I mean, it's just instead of us talking about how great the Kings have been, now we're talking about Draymond Green and that suspension.
Can you give the 30-second overview as to what happened for those who might not watch ESPN every day?
Yeah, late in the game against the Kings on Monday night, there was about 4 minutes or so left to go in the game. On a rebound, there were several guys underneath the basket fighting for the rebound, and Domantas Sabonis of the Kings fell to the ground, had his back on the ground, and he had his left arm basically draped around Draymond Green to where he couldn't run. And as Green is trying to get away, he demonstrably kicks Sabonis in his chest with his other leg and then hops out and starts running back down towards the other end of the court. The refs immediately blow the whistle to call a technical on Green. They review it. Flagrant 2 is called against Green. He gets thrown out. Sabonis gets a technical foul, and that's that. And now Draymond Green
and an Emmy. Don't forget
and an Emmy.
Because my gosh, you've never seen anybody. He must have played soccer in a former life. That's all I can say.
Yeah. But I think that was a Mike Brown specialty. Mike Brown knows how to get under those players' skins. I mean, he's going to get under Klay Thompson's skin, and I think he sent Sabonis out there to do that. He knows that eventually he could get Draymond Green to respond, and that's usually what Draymond does. He responds, and he over-responds, and there you go. He's out of the game. But just to let you know, the Lakers are behind.
Sweep the leg.
Yeah.
Sweep the leg.
Oh, gosh. The Lakers are behind with 131, 88-96 with Memphis. And also, the Heat and the Bucks are in the second quarter, 62-41 Bucks, which is good because Giannis must be playing.
He's not.
Oh, wow.
He's not playing tonight. So that's a big surprise.
That's interesting.
Lakers are actually up 11 or down 11 now, but yeah, Giannis was not supposed to play tonight, and I'm looking at the box score. He has not played at all tonight. It's Brooke Lopez, 17 points, leading the way so far for the Bucks, with Pat Connaughton off the bench with 13 as well. But yeah, what's been interesting too about the playoffs so far for the NBA, I had to get one in.
I know you did.
It's been interesting to see this Lakers team fight against Memphis, who don't have John Morant playing tonight, by the way, and are going to go up 2-0, it looks like, unless there's a miracle in the cards for they're going to tie it back up because the Lakers won this past weekend. But I think the Knicks and Cavs are a very entertaining series. I think that could go 7. Clippers and Suns are tied at 1. Coming back to LA, I think that could go 7. I think the NBA has finally done what they were hoping to with this play-in tournament.
Yes.
In making the entirety of the playoffs a much more competitive. It's kind of like what baseball has been doing as well with the expansion of the playoffs. They want to get more teams involved and potentially get more competition in the playoffs. And obviously, I think the NBA and the NHL playoffs are about as long as their regular seasons, it seems like. But they're getting everything they want out of this NBA playoffs with all these games. So,
well, I was going to just say that. I mean, what you're doing.
Welcome in TNCRadio.live. We are live on April the 19th, 2023. It's a Wednesday night, and you're listening to Clutch Time Sports. And now here are your hosts, Anderson and Banker.
Yeah, well, thank you, Mr. Tom Kelly. How you doing? I'm Ivan Anderson with my main man, Josh Banker. For all you wonderful truckers out there on the highways, byways, and the freeways, good evening to you. We're dealing with some beautiful weather here in Southern California. JB, did you have a nice weekend, man?
I did. It was about as quiet a weekend as I've had in a while, and it was great. Really? I enjoyed every minute of it.
It was kind of calm from your 5 services over Easter?
Yeah, that's for sure. Although I was a little disappointed. I was supposed to have a massage on Sunday afternoon, and my therapist got sick and had to cancel. So I'm a little more sore today than I normally am. But I'm doing all right for my old age.
Okay, you sound like the guy on is that Homer Simpson's dad? You just sounded like
Grandpa. I got all kinds of voices for you.
Oh, man. As you know, we always kind of start off joking around, just kind of liven things up, because when it comes to sports, we want you guys to have fun. We want to have fun. But unfortunately, Bank, I have to get something off my chest, and I have to say this, and I'm going to give you – let me preface this by saying I am a girl dad. When I say that, and anybody out there that says that, it means I am a father that has a girl athlete. And my feathers have been rough. Just they're just up on edge. My hairs are up on edge. This situation with Leah Thomas has got to end, and we've got to stop challenging girls' sports. Girls' sports are girls' sports. It's hard enough that they're looking for girls to play different sports. A lot of scholarships for girls go unclaimed, whether it's golf, Whether it's, well, softball, they never get enough scholarships. Basketball, I would blame the coaches.